Digibyte and Hive are surging, guys. They're going parabolic. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about inflation, deflation, and the halvening coming up, and a lot of different things. Trying to get out of the wind. I don't want the mic to be getting wind whipped. This wind's pretty strong today. So basically, yeah, if you don't know what Hive is, it's a fork of the Steem blockchain, and there was a power struggle when Justin Sun bought Steem Incorporated. A lot of community members end up forking, so there's Hive and there's Steem. If you had Steem 2, 3, 4 months ago or whatever, in a wallet that you controlled the keys, then you have Hive. Hive Power or Hive Pack dollars, or just liquid Hive. So anyway, keep an eye out for that if you didn't know about that. So it has went from 10 cents up to like over 50 cents. And I'm gonna basically try out Probit, identical power down cycles on Hive. And then kind of test it out, check out Probit exchange, and kind of see what I think about that. With Digibyte, last I checked, it was about 1.6 cents. If it goes over 2, I might kind of peg some of it and then wait for kind of a drop. I don't know really what happened with it, but it worries me when something goes from maybe 60 or 70th place on CoinMarketCap and moves clear up to maybe 35th or something. That kind of worries me. That's an aggressive move in comparison to everything else. It seems like what's been happening right now, Bitcoin's been going up a little bit. Obviously, Ether's been going up, but then there's been random ones each week that have been kind of shooting up, and then you're like, well, why is it going up? Like Zcash, for instance, was kind of last week, took a little off the table, pegged it to the US dollar, waiting for a drop, turn more, to kind of double up. And then same thing here, kind of with the Digibyte thing. This week it's kind of Digibyte, Hive's pumping. I mean, the Hive thing could have been a power down from Steem, and then somebody maybe powered it up in a Hive. Not really sure. So we'll kind of see what that going on. Now let's talk a little about inflation. Let's talk about deflation. It's a very, very, very hard concept to get your head wrapped around, and a lot of people kind of tout, obviously, cryptocurrency, especially like, let's say, Bitcoin, obviously having a limited supply, and then, having these halvening events, and essentially restricting the supply over time, kind of like gold and silver. All the easy stuff has been gotten. Now we're on to the harder stuff, so on and so forth. So after this halvening, I think the inflation rate is going to be like 1.3% a year. Currently, right now, there's actually more inflation than what is being reported by the US government. If you take that for any kind of weight, that there's like 2.5% inflation kind of thing each year. I don't know, we really don't know, because they're in control of it. We know with Bitcoin, we know with Litecoin, we know, so obviously be tracked on the blockchain, and that's one of the big advantages to it. But in this situation, and like I've said before, it worries me. The unemployment numbers are just going to be absolutely egregious. There's only like 26 million people have applied for unemployment. That's just going to continue. And keep in mind, a lot of people have not received any sort of benefit whatsoever of any of this government stimulus. And this is not something, I'm not trying to say like, oh, you should feel sorry for me or something. But okay, I had a W-2 position coaching out of college. So you can say, okay, I lost my job because of the Modelo cough. We have to talk in code here. These are censors, censorship on this platform here. So anyway, the Modelo cough, so I lost my job there. So I had certain businesses that were affected by the situation. And then, what else? You can say, okay, there's all these different stimuluses, all that. How much have I received from kind of any of this? Oh, there was the EILP grant money. How much have I received from any of this? Zero. Zero, zero, zero. And I'm not saying like, hey, you should feel sorry for me. I'm going to survive. I'll make it through, kind of thing. But you have to understand, there's a lot of people that haven't received anything, and they were literally, whatever, on their last penny, or, just a lot of people don't have any savings. So that first month that this thing hit, 25% of people did not pay their mortgages. So you're going to continue to see like default after default after default. Credit cards are doing exactly what I anticipated them to do. as like people kind of like run up their balances, the algorithm will choke them off and will reduce their available credit, essentially getting them hung up like a rabbit that went through a snare. And then they're choked off. They have no access to credit and stuff like that, additional credit kind of thing, if they get their cards maxed out, and they can't apply for more credit because it sees that they're, basically debt to income ratio is all out of whack, all this kind of stuff. So I just see these kind of issues continue to be a problem. So let's talk about, in this situation, you kind of have a deflationary event kind of going on right now. And a lot of times I don't think of it as being deflation. I don't really say that a lot. I just look in terms of how much are fuel prices, because really things are backed by like energy and fuel. And that's one of the reasons why I would say cryptocurrencies are backed by computing power and energy cost. Well, right now, we had the event with oil that it dropped to negative 35 or $36 a barrel, completely unprecedented, just insane to even think about. And then, it's kind of bounced back and stuff like that, but it's still low, still relatively low compared to the US dollar. So the US dollar has a lot of buying power in comparison to energy cost. Now, maybe as time goes on and there's not, I don't know if people would be able to negotiate necessarily lower electricity costs, but if the cost of fuels, the cost of commodities kind of go down overall, then maybe that is some kind of thing. If there's a very, very large energy consumer kind of thing that has some kind of industrial rate or something like that, maybe they're able to negotiate. But your general consumer is probably not going to be able to negotiate on that. But as far as obviously the oil prices and then gasoline prices at the pump, we see the effect of that. And then also, just as a deflationary event, you just have the economy just coming to almost like a freeze partially, and the numbers even, even from like March and stuff, look at like retail numbers and stuff like that, the April numbers are going to come in terrible. Longer these stores, it's a tough thing anyway, but people aren't buying new clothes, people aren't doing this kind of things, the vacations and stuff. A lot of hotels have had to close down and all these kind of things. So in a deflationary event, which just is completely opposite of all the people saying, hey, the Fed is printing all this money, have these printing presses going because they're doing these stimuluses and all this kind of stuff. And they're saying, oh, there's all this inflation and all this money being pumped in there and all this kind of stuff. And they're saying, well, there's going to be all this inflation. Everything's going to become more expensive in the future compared to the US dollar and all this kind of stuff. But in reality, we're in a deflationary event. Your dollar is more powerful in comparison to oil prices. And the economy has shrunk up and people aren't spending as much and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of goes against the grain of this whole situation of looking at, hey, they're printing a bunch of money, that therefore, since you can't do that on these, for Bitcoin, Litecoin, Monero, all that kind of stuff, you can't just jump in there and just start printing stuff, that it's set by an algorithm and it's consistent and it's not being changed, blah 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 blah, that therefore it's a harder version of money, it's a harder form of money and stuff like that. And I would say, yeah, it is, like during kind of normal times as time goes on and stuff like that. But in the end, we're kind of in a situation where it's kind of completely the opposite, this deflationary event. So it's really hard to wrap your mind around. And it's like, okay, are we getting the correct numbers? Is the inflation rate, generally 2 to 2.5%? And I've even seen some stuff that's saying that right now, because of some of the stuff that's happened, that actually the inflation rate is only 1.3%. But again, I don't know. It's just a tough thing to get our minds around. And, we really can't say for sure. And then they say that, I think they say that gold's at like maybe 2.8%. But, you know, a lot of that goes back to fuel prices, and then we don't know how much gold and silver there is in the world either. So there's kind of that wild card. But as far as like, you know, production is concerned and who's mining what and what's being sold, I guess, somewhat track it. But right now, it's just like, where is kind of the safe haven? And personally, again, I'm saying it's the US dollar, and I really do think we're being set up for a bull trap. It's, you know, when this happening event's over, it's going to be like, okay, so what? So I'm taking this opportunity on some of these little surges, whether it be like the Hive situation or, you know, Digibyte. I'll kind of play my numbers. I mean, I'm not real quick to just kind of dump out. I like Digibyte, you know, and all that. And I have a position. I've had a position for a long time and stuff, but I might gravitate to, you know, USDC or something like that for part of it. And then kind of when the dust settles and stuff, I can jump back in. But anyway, guys, I'm out at a reservoir. I'm like just trying to get out. I'm trying to get away from the wind and stuff, but this area is kind of a dead zone. I just trying to get down here because it's so windy. You can probably hear it up there in the trees. But yeah, just trying to mushroom hunt. It's been too dry. It's too early, I feel like. And I was also looking for arrowheads. The reservoir is pretty low and stuff like that, but did not find anything, which I kind of expected that. For mushrooms, the red buds need to be out and the mayapple things need to be out. And then there has to have been enough water and, you know, so on and so forth. I really think in a week and a half, 2 weeks, it's going to be kind of a better situation here. What about you guys? Are you hunting for morel mushrooms or getting out, or are you just staying hunkered down? See you guys later.